All right, we are live.
Welcome. Today is Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. We're for the Orange Township Board of Trustees. We have a zoning hearing this evening. Call this meeting to order. Ms. Bonnie, if you could call roll.
Trustee Grumbles,
Here.
Trustee Knapp, and Trustee Faust. Here.
You'd stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Here for rezoning application 22-05, the NewGen tennis facility. Bonnie, or you want to take over from here? Or?
I believe our zoning director, Robin, can brief you on the updates and his staff report.
Good evening, trustees. We are here for public hearing for rezoning case ZON-22-05. Applicant is the NewGen tennis facility represented by Rebecca J. Mott. This is for a site located on Green Meadows Drive, south of Home Road. The parent parcel is 31.6 acres. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 3.736 acres from that parent parcel. This is a rezoning from a planned commercial and office district to another planned commercial and office district to allow for an indoor-outdoor recreation facility consisting of 6 pickleball courts with a dome or metal warehouse structure, 5 tennis courts under a dome, 3 tennis courts under a permanent roof, office and service building space, a parking area, and landscaping on the property. In 2014, the Township Board of Trustees approved a development plan and development text for the Slate Ridge Planned Commercial and Office District East, which includes both this property and the parent parcel. The site is surrounded to the north and south by Planned Commercial and Office District. To the east is the railroad, as well as land that is zoned FR1 that is owned by Delco. And to the west is Green Meadows Drive and more Planned Commercial and Office District. A brief summary of the applicant's rezoning request. Again, the applicant is proposing 6 pickleball courts with a dome or metal warehouse structure, 5 tennis courts under a dome, 3 tennis courts under a permanent roof, office and service building space to be constructed in 2 phases with 2,459 square feet of office space initially, an additional 6,000 square feet proposed in a later phase. The total open space provided was previously listed as 42.5%. We did receive updated numbers. We believe that the updated number is accurate. Staff would like clarification as to whether the updated calculation is for the first phase of development or inclusive of all the phases of proposed development. In terms of parking, 63 parking spaces are proposed, including 3 ADA spaces. There are 2 divergences requested regarding parking. The first is that this use is not listed in Section 21.01E of the Orange Township Zoning Resolution, which deals with the required number of parking spaces. Since it does not fit neatly into our categories, they are requesting a variance or a divergence for that number. The parking setback is also being reduced to 0 feet on the north side of the property because there is a shared access drive on the north side of the property, which will also require a divergence. The applicant has provided a lighting plan that will conform to the lighting standards laid out in Section 21.12 of the Orange Township Zoning Resolution. As for signage, applicant is proposing 1 2-post ornamental sign to be constructed of aluminum with final content to be determined. The total proposed sign area is 25.4 square feet. Building setbacks are 50 foot in the front from the right-of-way of Green Meadows Drive. To the south side of the property is 25-foot building setback. To the north side of the property is a 12.5-foot building setback, and then a 40-foot setback to the rear of the property. A total of 3 divergences have been requested. Along with the, so 3 total, the 2 that I mentioned earlier for parking, 1 from the parking requirements, and the other from, for a reduction in the parking setback on the north side of the property. There's 1 additional divergence requesting to allow each phase, including the first, to be less than 5 acres of property due to the fact that the entirety of the property to be purchased, developed, and split as a replat by the applicant from the parent parcel is less than 5 acres, which is mostly just an administrative detail. The Orange Township Comprehensive Plan does identify this parcel as planned commercial. It is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. Additional comments: the applicant has agreed in principle to join a joint economic development district, or JED. The applicant has requested, as part of that agreement, that Orange Township would agree to use good faith and its best efforts to use JED funds to reimburse the applicant for any sidewalk installations as required along the public right-of-way of Green Meadows Drive adjacent to the property, as part of the rezoning and development plan approvals of the property, and in connection with any waterline installations the applicant may install along the public right-of-way of Green Meadows Drive on behalf of Delco Water, if necessary. In terms of technical review, the Orange Township Fire Department has not given full approval, but they have confirmed that this site layout does appear to meet the intent of their requirements. Regional Planning reviewed this. They did recommend conditional approval of this application, subject to 4 conditions at the time. The applicant has addressed those in updated submittals, and they are addressed to the satisfaction of Orange Township staff. The Orange Township Zoning Commission recommended approval with a 5-0 vote at their meeting held on June 14, 2022. I have nothing further.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Mott with the Plank Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio 43215. We represent the applicant, NewGen Tennis Academy. And we do have our applicant representative here as well for any operational questions you may have, Tito Bonadonna. And the owner of the property is the Kerbler Farms, LLC. They have joined in this application for this rezoning effort, so they approve of, obviously, and agree with the zoning text changes. And that is why we needed to file a rezoning anyway, is to change that development text that is in this not subdivision, but PCDE, Slate Ridge. And that development text was approved by this township trustees in 2014, and it does cover the entirety of the 36 acres in PCD East, and we are only rezoning the 3.7 acres that you see on the site plan here. That means because that text did not contemplate this particular use, it was not delineated as a permitted use, so we just need to simply add that use into that text. So that was the purpose for this entire rezoning application, just to add language to the development text. As was mentioned, the surrounding properties are industrial to the south. There's a railroad track to the east. And the rest of the parcel, the parent parcel to the north, is in the planned commercial district for office and commercial. That is in the PCDE Slate Ridge. We are not changing the zoning category or classification. It's going from PCD to PCD. And again, the proposed rezoning effort and project is for pickleball and tennis facilities. You can see that we're starting in phase 1 with the rear of the parcel to begin the phase development. So back here to the rear, let me just look at my site plan, which is in front of me, but much smaller. So that will be the 6-court pickleball dome. And then you have a 5-court tennis facility dome. And then you have the office building right in the middle of the property. That will be the first phase. The parking also will be added in the first phase, as well as the road, the driveway to the north on the property line, as well as the landscaping. So literally all of the improvements to the property will be in phase 1, except the future portions you see in the front, the 2 buildings. There's another office building and another tennis facility in the frontage of the parcel. We're also adding the sidewalk, as you can see on the site plan, and I think if we could fit the site plan on your screen, which is this board here. Yeah, that right there. There's a sidewalk we've, of course, added along the frontage. We've also changed the curb cut and access drive from the original plan. The original plan had a curb cut a little bit south of this one, but we will be sharing this curb cut and access drive with the property owner to the north in any future development. The reason for that is the 2014 development text stated that the seller, the owner of the parent parcel, only had 2 curb cuts or access drives for the entirety of the 32 acres. So we need to make sure we share this one with them so they have a second access. The T turnaround you see to the rear of the site on the site plan, that was for the fire department's comments related to having, first responders and trucks to move through that common access drive through the back and be able to maneuver, turn around, and get out safely. We also added some things based on the zoning commission's comments and recommendations. They would have liked to have seen some parking in the rear, which we added. We added some ADA and regular parking spaces closest to that facility all the way to the rear, as well as some spaces just north of that office building in the center of the property. So we are extending parking through the rear, and those spaces technically have a 0 setback, parking setback to the property line because they're right on the property line. And you can tell that the entirety of the private drive is going to be on the seller site. There will be a private cross-access easement that we will record in the Delaware County land records to achieve that. All of those terms and conditions will be in that easement agreement. So all that's been agreed to. Also, the owner, the seller of the entirety of the 32 acres is bound under the original text to extend the 10-foot multi-use purpose path that's going to be on the west side of Green Meadows Drive. So we'll have 2 sidewalks. The multi-purpose path, that'll be 10-foot wide on the west side, and the east side will have that small connection sidewalk. I think it's about 4 foot in width. Let's see. The landscaping, I don't think changed from your original application set, except some of the landscaping was close to the property line in the rear, so we needed a setback change in the data table for that on the site plan and the landscape plan. We do have a lighting plan. We also have the architectural drawings I'd like to show you. Yeah, these are the architectural drawings. They reflect a farmhouse style with the black trim and black windows. You can see the black shingle and then the color of the off-white with that gray or darker charcoal colored brick or a stone type of water table feature. These are high quality architectural features, and it is written in the text that we would comply with this for all of the office buildings. There is a possibility that the rear tennis facility or pickleball, I can't remember if that one's pickleball or tennis. Let's see.
Closest to the tracks is the pickleball.
Yeah, the pickleball, closest to the tracks, may have a metal warehouse structure instead of a dome, and that's yet to be determined. So that has been written into the text, and so that is something that is an alternative. If there is a metal structure, it will not match these materials. There will be a metal structure, and that type of architectural treatment and language is written in the text. And again, that was already stated to the zoning commission as well, and they had no issue with that as well. Again, there's industrial to the south and a railroad to the west, just to get oriented with what the neighboring properties are. The metal building, I do have a concept drawing of that or rendering, and it's very nice, so I can show you that as well. Okay, the stormwater management, we are showing the stormwater management will be controlled and detained from underground. However, we have an option if the engineer's office would like us to use the pond to the south. We actually have run stormwater calculations and think that all of our development and pervious surfaces and improvements will drain and be okay in terms of the pond to the south, and using that, it's sized appropriately. The county engineer and principal is supportive of that, so that's really just up to us as our option. It would be less expensive to flow it to the pond, so that might be an option if that's the way that it's permitted and engineered when the time comes after land use approvals. The comprehensive land use plan supports this project as this is a recreational facility and it is a commercial project. And it has a township community character, which was all in the Orange Township Comprehensive Land Use Plan identified for this property and for the zoning classification. And the zoning inspector did mention that applicant agrees to the JED once that's established, and we have agreed to that. We have discussed with your township attorney some language that we were hoping could be added as a stipulation or condition, possibly in your resolution. Whether you vote on approval or disapproval this evening, we hope approval. But thank you for your time, and we're here to answer any of your questions.
I don't have, I'd love to see the rendering of the metal building.
Okay.
And then as far as questions, I wanted to get clarity on the JAD request, because when I look at the application and see that there's already a sidewalk and a path being constructed or implemented into the existing proposal. When you mentioned the JED, it sounded like you said if there's additional sidewalk requirement, or is it a request to fund what's in the concept now?
So there's a requirement of the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission to add that sidewalk on our side. The 10-foot multi-use purpose path was already part of the 2014 development text. The 10-foot wide path is not what I'm talking about in terms of the language in the JED, because that's a seller obligation. But because this sidewalk was requested, it is going to go in the public right-of-way. Therefore, the public will be able to utilize it under a public easement that we'll need to grant to the public. But if we're going to install it, you could definitely use public funds to provide for that reimbursement.
And the water component that you mentioned?
The water line would be a public water line. It would be an easement granted to Delco, even though private parties must install it for service to all these properties. So ours would just extend to wherever the water line is now, which is in Green Meadows Drive, I think, north. So we'll have to extend that down. But again, that's a public water line servicing all of this area that people can use over time as developers come in projects. So we would be requesting, hopefully, good faith efforts for the Orange Township to use the public funds for public infrastructure, which is normal.
I've never had a request for us to pay for a water tap.
Oh, it's not our private water line. That's the one we're going to pay for on our property to extend the public water line in the public right-of-way.
I understand. Not the tap for your individual property. You're talking about the extension of the actual infrastructure.
Yes, it's not a tap. We will pay the tap fee. That's not the part of the request. It is just the water line in the public right-of-way of Green Meadows Drive.
Is that necessary? The construction of that, is that necessary for your business?
Absolutely. Without it, the project's not feasible. There would be no water service to the property. Yes.
I mean, typically in the past, I've never had a request for that. Usually, even it's kind of the first person that comes in that ends up being responsible for that.
Additional property has to add.
Yeah, and they saw, yeah.
The reason I wanted to dive into the request is it's more of a TIF request than a JED request. And so the purpose of the JED would really be as holistically looking at the township through a lens of, if there's a multi-use path or infrastructure in that area or any area, connectivity, things of that nature, it would pool the collective, cloud of the commercial sector in order to make improvements to the township in general. So, for example, the underpass at Orange Road that has been a long planned project, it could contribute to improving the general traffic and thoroughfare of the township as a whole. Something like that would certainly benefit the facility and the location you're proposing. People could more easily access Green Meadows. The way that you shared the proposal itself is more what I would consider like a TIF request or a type of township TIF where, we're going to redirect some tax revenue in order to fund an upfront infrastructure project. So, I wouldn't be able to commit on the front end anyway to allocate township funds for a project with the JED. Hasn't collected any. Other than that, I have no questions. I think it's a great project. I think it's in the right spot too. It's a great utilization of that property. The metal building looks fine to me. There's similar metal buildings in that same business park at the Rise commercial sector and things of that nature. So it's consistent with what you see in the area. So I do appreciate the effort there. Office looks beautiful, very well thought out and high end. And from a utility standpoint, 2019, 2020, I know tennis was something that came up because right now the courts that are accessible are predominantly with the schools. And so, people are trying to find accessibility around the school schedules and of course, pickleball's on fire. So this satisfies two things that I know our residents are eager to have more of. And we're planning to add pickleball as well in the township park. So it'd be nice to have covered facility where folks can actually extend their playing season, and it's great.
Right, thank you.
Is the sidewalk? Will the sidewalk be extended throughout, Mr. Duffy? Throughout, will that be expected for the other properties as well?
When they develop, yes.
They will. Okay, so and you're also creating a bike path, you said?
The seller, Kerbler Farms, is going to have to extend that 10-foot wide multi-purpose path that you already see out there. It's just not right across our property yet. It's going to have to be extended.
Is that on the opposite side
The
of the
west
street?
side.
The other side?
Yes,
Okay.
the other side.
Okay, so yeah, typically I think we'll probably require all the properties to build a sidewalk.
Mhm.
So they'll probably all incur the same expense.
Sure. And I appreciate the fact that developers definitely going to have that initial cost of construction. But I also know that when we enter into a JED as an applicant, they're paying income tax to the township to generate funds. And those funds can be earmarked for any public improvement project that you desire. We're not asking for any kind of affirmative agreement that would happen because that's kind of too soon. And I know you'd have to think about it and talk about it. And it's not created yet. This was just language saying you could use best efforts and good faith efforts to try to
Doesn't
reimburse for
obligate
that.
us, correct?
It doesn't
Yeah,
obligate.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
The thing too with the JED is we'll have a JED board, right? So we'll have
Yeah.
multiple commercial partners. We already have several that are slated to join that. And so it would be something that I would want to, out of respect for the collective group, add into as an option or an opportunity, if you will, and then of course have a discussion with them and presentation, etc. Because people are going to be joining retroactively as well, right?
Right.
So established businesses that have already put forth the cost that you're seeking some assistance in, give them a chance to opine on that. I know, to your point, when larger developments or commercial developments come in, there's typically some sort of request for partnership. This is just the first I've heard of this variety, but it's no different than we're seeing sewer requests and turn lane requests and things of that nature. It's just a different flavor of ice cream, same stuff.
Correct.
So, but I think that'd be the better forum for that. And certainly you would, as one of the founding kind of parties in that, be a great opportunity to present that as a first. And then also with that, you would be leveraging the funds that the partners are contributing as well.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
How many trips per day will this facility generate?
Like traffic?
Yeah,
How many
traffic,
cars per
yeah.
day? So there's 63 parking spaces, and I know that our client isn't expecting that would be full at any given time. I do have some numbers, and I'll have Mr. Bonadonna talk about how many people come to these facilities at any given time in either our playing or our watching. So I think it's best that it
Because
comes
what will it be used as? It will be people taking tennis lessons, or people playing games, or just
It's
all that,
educational tennis and pickleball. It's like an academy where you can have membership. It's open to the public. It's also lessons. It's all of that.
So, okay, and that it was one thing, and I would like to hear from him, but
Okay.
because the township cannot have an income tax and our roads levy funds are drastically dwindling as our roads age, the in and out nature of the business of people coming in and out, and it will be pretty big compared to some other uses, you know. So that's
That
what we
reminds me.
most likely plan to use the funds to improve the roads.
That reminds me, Green Meadows Drive was improved by the Kerbler Farms developer. I think there was a 280-acre site originally. So that was all put in, that infrastructure was put in by that private developer and owner of the master parcel. In addition, they had the foresight to create a declaration of CCRs, conditions, covenants, restrictions of record, and every single party that owns a parcel within this Slate Ridge East or in the bigger 280 acres is subject to assessments. The assessments go towards detention ponds, retention ponds that feed and service the entirety of this development, the roads. The multi-purpose path will actually be somewhat assessed to our client already through their proportionate share by being an owner of the property. So all of this, yeah, the
Yeah, but
roads are
which
private,
roads?
I believe, or if they're not, they're subject to assessment.
But not the public roads.
Not public right-of-ways, those are owned and controlled by the public, but I believe
Right.
Green Meadows is private, built
Green
to public
Meadows,
standards.
the bulk of that area, there was some substantial TIF
Right.
activity, if you recall, on the Kerbler property. It's what's funding a lot of that infrastructure where Home Road will extend and go over
Yeah,
the tracks,
that's right.
and then the extension of Green Meadows. So a lot of that was TIF generated.
Is it private roadway?
No.
No, it's public.
Yeah.
I
So-
believe the whole road is public. Green Meadows.
I thought
Drive.
Green Meadows was private but built to public standards, but I can definitely follow up.
We
with-
we rarely do that when it's a roadway that the public uses. Like
Mhm.
if it was a like a private, like a commercial development or residential.
That was
Okay.
the big TIF that kicked off
Yeah.
the funding that Home Road
But
overpass.
The township will most likely be responsible for improving
Okay.
that when the time comes. And then, and not even just that road, but, people coming from all, I think this will be, well, first of all, I think it's a great use. I'm all for like recreation and people, there's so many, people want to get healthy lately and exercise, and there's very few places that you can actually do that, especially during the winter. So I think this is very exciting. But so I think it will be a regional draw, even from other townships, people coming from our township and other townships, and so wear and tear on the roads because of that. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. But that was the main reason behind the JED, is to make sure we have enough funds to try to keep the roads up with the increased development. So
Right,
Yeah.
understood.
okay, thanks.
Thanks.
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
Is he coming up to talk about the
Oh, yeah.
roads?
Oh, yeah.
Or the trips per day? I mean,
Before he starts, I can confirm Green Meadows Drive is a public road.
okay, that's
Hi, thank you. Tito Bonadonna, 7375 High Cross Boulevard, Columbus, Ohio, 43235. I think the two questions were usage and traffic. So usage, yes, all of the above. We have, it's a tennis academy or educational purposes to develop mainly our core business. We've been in business for almost 3 years now. I actually just came from our summer camps. Our core business is junior players and junior programs. So the core of the business is developing juniors and help them achieve their goals and dreams, playing high school and college. We actually have many players from this area who drive down to meet us in Columbus. So yes, educational purposes, but also open to the public so people can play in our courts, majorly in the winter months where there's no indoor courts here in the area, and also recreationally for pickleball since it's a fast-growing sport as well. So that's the intended use. I think I covered that. And for the traffic, if we kind of calculate all the courts being used, all doubles, so 4 players per court, if we're lucky and fortunate to have them all booked at the same time, we're looking at about 44 players. Those coaches or staff, we're looking at maybe the late high 50s. So I think we're okay with the parking spaces that we have.
How long are the games? I don't know anything about pickleball. How long are the games?
Usually people play for an hour. They book a court for an hour is the usual time. Depending on what we're running, if we're running a league, for example, it could go an hour and a half or 2 hours, where they play for a little bit, have a little break, and then go in and play. That traffic comes and goes maybe every sets of 2 hours. Same with our classes, our academy classes, depending on the levels, but they go from 2 hour class program to 1 hour if it's more beginner. Same for the adult programs, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So usually it's an hour. We're looking at an hour or 2 hour time frames
Okay,
per activity.
so that is a lot of traffic coming in and out. I mean, it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
you could, like you said, 50 cars in and out within an hour, unless people come with each other, I guess. But that's a lot of traffic,
Yes.
right?
Most
It's
of our-
I mean, I appreciate it though. I mean, it's a good use. It's just it is a lot of traffic.
Right. And most of our use, at least on the academy side, which is what we've faced already, we don't rent any courts or provide people to come play. We don't have courts yet. But on the academy side, most parents just drop the kids off and leave and pick
So
them
it's
up
double in and out, drop off.
and pick up.
In and
Oh
out,
yeah,
drop, in and
that's a
out,
good
pick.
point. It could be 80 trips or 100 trips
Yeah,
per
but
hour.
the great majority.
I think what she's trying to establish is just that when you look at the township as a whole, outside of just this plot, what we're seeing right now, and it's normal with larger townships of our size, as they approach 20,000 plus, and the commercial districts start to grow, you're drawing in a lot more traffic, and the statute is such that from a funding standpoint, we're very limited on where we can raise revenue, and so the State House put together an option for us. And when you look at the studies, most of the commercial businesses that we do see stand up here, the folks working there are leaving. They're coming in and earning revenue, income, generating revenue, and then leaving, and the taxes go with them. So they go back to Columbus, or they go to other areas of the region. It's a enormous number, it's in the 90 percentile, I think 80 to 90 percentile range. And so the concept of the JED is to keep the tax revenue here. It's not creating new tax for the employee base. And from a business standpoint, with talking through accountants and such, it was determined very close to, if not net neutral, from a write-off standpoint.
And it
So
does not increase income taxes for the employee. Is that correct?
it would if they were not otherwise taxed, yes.
Okay, but the ones that are being taxed,
It
is
just diverts it.
reciprocal. Okay,
The way we wrote the JED language, it would not.
but on the
It depends on where the employee actually lives.
If they have a reciprocity.
Exactly, or if they, a resident credit. But in general, for Central
Okay.
Ohio, it's
And
pretty consistent. to
so the
have
big
a-
difference is the business income, I guess.
Correct.
Okay, so and that could be not necessarily a tremendous amount of money, but the point is that it's a high intensity use, and we can't really.
Businesses like townships, because of the lack of income tax at times, some don't care. The larger entities, that it's indifferent to them because it goes against their taxes, and they're not incrementally. In other words, it's a write-off, right? So, the concept of businesses coming in and earning revenue, generating traffic, and use of our infrastructure that the residents ultimately are paying for. And so what we're seeking to do with the JED is to balance that out a bit. Otherwise, what we'll do is continue to grow, continue to raise our taxes on our residents as businesses become more, profitable. It's a lose-lose for the township residents, but it's a balancing act.
Because we have a lot of planned commercial industrial. I think we're the highest in the entire county
We
for
are.
the township, and also I'm pretty sure we're the highest taxed as well.
Mhm.
There's a debate on whether it's us or Liberty, and I still want to check that out. But we have so much planned commercial, and even just extra police coverage and things that the county pays for.
Right.
But yeah,
And so the JED too, when you think long-term, we're looking at things like additional police coverage that benefits all businesses and residents and the community, and keeps it the way that it is, and enticed you to come here and try and join our community. And then multi-use paths, sidewalks, road repair will be a significant draw of funds. So once that newer road needs resurfacing, we can do that faster. So just to share some of the initial concepts of what we're looking at.
because we are projected to run out of money.
Okay.
Literally from our fiscal officer for roads. So that's just the purpose behind it. That makes sense. I have a few more questions.
Okay.
Let's see here. Well, they will all be fully enclosed, is that correct?
In some kind of capacity.
So the dome structures are seasonal and temporary. So the language we have in the text is that they would be coming up, like you'd be installing them to start the winter season around October 1st, but it would be general that it's approximate based on weather permitting. And then they come down at the
So they're
end of
outdoor
winter
before
It's like
that.
the golf dome.
around March.
Oh, that's
It's just
really
like the
nice.
golf dome, right?
That's-
Like
Yeah.
the indoor driving range.
Right,
type
and so
things.
people can play during the winter time.
Okay,
So
that's
they're
when
temporary.
when it's taken down, what does the facility look like?
So it's a court. It would be a
So
court.
It's just flat, there's no
just like
fence
up
around
there.
it, it's,
It might be green or that red, but or,
That's for the
a different
domes,
color, but
okay.
it's just courts.
okay.
But
So
the
flat.
warehouse style buildings aren't
There
going
will be
anywhere,
fences
obviously,
around
if that's,
Correct.
yeah.
But we may use the dome instead of the metal
Okay,
warehouse.
yeah.
That's an alternative plan. The dome is the primary plan for the end pickleball court. And that's going to look like just a field, a grassy field, a recreational area. It's going to be very nice. Even with the dome, it looks cool. It's not going to be visible, tremendously visible because you're by a railroad track and
You're
industrial
in a commercial
properties and all of
So
that.
then
And it's
people would be
commercial
outside
area.
during the summer.
Correct.
That's really nice because I'm sure it would get really hot in there during the summer. Or very difficult to air condition.
It
you know,
will
during
have
the
heating
summer.
and air conditioning and have a generator backing up its utilities. So
Both the pickleball and the tennis courts?
I know that. Go ahead,
It's the same dome.
Tito. Could you come up?
During the outdoor months, the courts have their fence around the perimeter too.
How high is the fence?
I don't know that. I don't know that measurement. High enough so balls don't go.
It's like the ones at the high school, right?
Okay, so
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
So then the fence
And-
comes down and then the dome goes.
No, so the dome goes inside the fencing of the court.
So when you showed us the rendering of we could just see the dome, is there actually going to be, say someone driving by, are you going to see the fence around the dome?
You like that?
Yes, it should be.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be a question to our civil engineer, but yes, the domes go inside
Inside the
the
fence, okay.
the fence.
But that makes
And
sense.
then where do the doors, like when the dome comes down, where is the dome stored? Is that in the garage portion of the office building, or is
We're
that
gonna-
offsite?
Yes, we open. We're gonna store it in this.
Okay. And so the doors come down. I saw that there was a rotating.
Everything
Door,
comes down
everything.
except for the mechanical unit.
Okay.
So everyone accesses it from one area. So you obviously would want a fence to keep people out of it that aren't reserving things, right? The fence. Like, how do people get into the facility?
To the courts or the
Yeah, the courts, yeah.
Is this similar to Olympic tennis? Like,
The dome is exactly the same.
okay,
It's
so
actually
that's,
the same.
if you are familiar in Clintonville, that's Indianola and Oakland, I believe, and very similar structure, if you need a visual.
Okay, yeah.
It's
I've
actually
seen that.
manufactured. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And let's see, is it under the zoning? Say that pickleball fell out of fashion, and at some point, does the zoning state it could be used as some other kind of recreational, like soccer or football or I don't know
Yes,
what?
the language is general and flexible.
Okay,
It says indoor and/or outdoor recreational facility.
Plugging for the indoor soccer leagues. Like-
Yeah,
Soccer.
absolutely.
We don't have enough soccer around here, but not just for me. Let's see. I do like the high quality materials. That's
Mhm.
appreciated because a lot of times the industrial buildings are not very attractive. So I do appreciate that. And so they would be responsible for the maintenance of the sidewalk. Is that correct? In the future, like any repairs necessary, just like a residential.
If that sidewalk is placed in the public right-of-way, and it's, even if the public right-of-way is wider than Green Meadows Drive, and it would be, the sidewalk would be and have an easement for public use, so we would grant that easement to the township. And
Right.
yeah, public can use it, and then the township, it's
What?
part of your control.
Yeah, so they would still need to repair. You'd still make repairs.
I don't know. We'd have to talk about that with the county engineer in terms of Orange Township and how their sidewalk system works in granting easements to the public.
I think
For a public sidewalk.
I think in like with residential anyway, you know, the residents responsible for the section and their property within their property.
Within
line.
your property, the private owner is responsible. So we have to look at this with the civil engineers and the county engineers to see, is it in the public right-of-way or is it on the private
But
property?
even in our neighborhood, like my sidewalk is in the public right of way, and we're all still liable
Mhm.
Yep.
to repair our own sidewalk.
Sure.
Even cities, any sidewalks anywhere, you're
Trees
liable.
and stuff.
Yeah, and you're
Okay.
liable for even cutting trees that are hanging, and
Yeah,
they can
we'll
assess
see.
you. They can actually assess, the township can assess you if it's more than like your sidewalks.
Mhm.
Okay, and with the lighting plan, was that submitted?
Yes, it was, and it was submitted in the original
Was it?
application.
Is
Yes.
it, so in that general area, and I keep meaning to talk to Robin about this, but in the Green Meadows area in general, there's a lot of lighting that
Mhm.
is actually not down lighting, it's on the wall, and it just shines right out. Are you pretty confident that that is all actually just like washing on the walls or in the parking lot or things?
Definitely downlit, and it has to comply with all these lighting standards in the original 2014 text, and it does.
Okay.
The only thing that we had to change is the actual specification for the color, and this brand type had changed over the years. It's no longer available, so we added in our types of lighting, but the lighting matches the text from 2014. It's very high quality. It's downlit. It would
It's
have to
downlit,
comply
okay.
with your
We
code.
live right behind the area,
Do-
literally in the
okay.
neighborhood, just
It's
to the
spilling?
east. And
There's a lot of problems in that area with the light, well, not that, but the middle of it. If you drive by at night, the lights are just shining right
Yeah.
out. It's really.
as far as the residential aspect goes, so it's no problem.
Not there,
Yeah.
yeah, but in that, it's still supposed to be. It's just the whole look of the township when you drive down. It's
Big
very.
light blip.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty bright. And I don't know how that happened, or I don't even know when I noticed it. And I think let's make sure I have on my trips per day sidewalk. Here. Okay, I think that's all questions I have for now.
May I respond to two of your questions?
Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about a
Sure.
couple. The traffic impact study that would have been approved and done for this entire area would have done at the time of 2014, when this development text and all of this was rezoned in the original application, meaning all of these roads that you see that have been improved over time for this entire development were fine to handle and control and manage all of the traffic for this type of use. Office, commercial uses can be supported by your current conditions of your roads and how they've been developed and improved. That traffic impact study, again, was already approved. We don't have to do a new one for the same property that was under a prior approval. So it's the same zoning classification, so we're confident you're not going to see an issue in terms of traffic that it can't handle and
Yeah.
that wasn't managed and planned
Yeah.
for. In addition, the lighting is under, if you wanted to flip to the text, page 11 and 12, go through all the lighting fixture standards. You will see they can't be more than 20 feet in height. There's a certain hue of the bulb that needs to be included. There's a certain luminaires and Kelvin color temperature. There's dusk to dawn control systems using either a timer or photo cell. There's also some prohibitions and things that are not allowed in terms of lighting, and I would say this far exceeds any code standards that Orange Township would have in their zoning code for
Does
lighting.
it state in here that it's downlighting?
That would be a code compliance issue. There's no way that any development in today's age would be not anything but downlighting in terms of codes. All codes that I'm aware of in every jurisdiction require downlighting.
Yeah, because sometimes it will actually say it in the text, but
Right.
it didn't say it in here. And like I said, there in that general area, there's a lot of lights that are. Something's
Okay.
happened in the last 5 or 10 years. And
Okay.
everything
No,
is
they had a variance.
outlighting.
A variance.
And
Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
They've got, I know they
Which
approved
ones?
some variances at, I think Menards, right?
Oh,
And
for
then-
light pole heights.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
But no, but
that's
on
what's
on the
contributing
side of
to
the
it.
wall, there's
Oh.
literally lights
It shines
shining
bright.
out. It's pretty.
If the applicant sticks to this photometric plan, I did just go around the perimeter and it does comply with the lighting.
Does it?
Yeah, so
The
the
downlight
maximum lighting
property.
pollution is 2.0 foot candles, and I just checked the perimeter and it does not exceed that anywhere. So
Okay, but yeah, if you can just make sure it's definitely, because
Mhm.
like I keep meaning to compile a list of all the other issues, but for the downlighting in that general area. But
Yeah.
Is that the only other answer?
Yeah, I
response
think
you
that
had?
was the only other two
Response?
things that we didn't already address.
I wanted to follow up on Mr.
Sure.
Duffy's question regarding lot coverage. So the percentage, the calculations that are in the text, is that for just phase one, or is that it for the entirety of the project?
Are we talking, let me go to the development standards in the text and also refer to the site plan at the same time. I think it's page 18 of the text. So the original text does not have standards related to like open space. It does have a lot coverage standard in terms, not lot coverage, lot area requirement, square footage or acreage for a phase. We don't even have 5 acres in our entirety of our site. It's only 3.763 acres, so we can't comply with whether it's phase one, phase two, or the entirety. We can't comply with 5 acres. And that's a lot area standard. Are you talking about?
I'm talking about the maximum lot coverage.
Okay. I don't see it in our text in terms of an original development text standard in
Okay.
2014 on page 18, because we followed that set of standards first as the template, and then we deviate from that if we needed to. And we only need 3 deviations. However, there was a data table on our site plan, and I can flip to that. I believe Mr. Duffy was talking about impervious area.
Correct.
So that data is down here, 2.268. This area, green space would be 1. And that did change a little bit in terms of that original application based on some of the additional parking we added. More property line.
And that includes the proposed the permanent roof structure as well?
Yes, so that calculation includes all of the phases as though they're all built in accordance with this site plan.
And just to follow up, when you said the original traffic study in 2014 would have covered this entire development, but in reality, this use was not anticipated or included in that text, correct?
Which
is why you
disagree.
need to, but that's why you're rezoning it. And if this use wasn't actually included, then we should definitely, in my opinion, consider the number of trips, because I don't think that, if the general use was anticipated, but not the specific use.
Recreational facilities in general were permitted. Also hunting, hunting was prohibited. There were different recreational facilities not permitted and some permitted. But recreational facilities were, and those were encouraged under the comp plan and the text. So were community centers, things that have high intensity traffic. Office has less traffic, retail has more, restaurant has more. This is not a high intensity use, it's medium to medium low. However, I still think we had to add the permitted uses as indoor, outdoor, because I think there was something about it that was prohibited. Maybe it was the outdoor component. I can't recall, but I'd have to look in here. I think it's on page 3.
But recreational uses could just include, fields for general play.
So in the past, from 2014, the closest designations that were the original designations were public and private golf courses, country clubs, hunt clubs, sportsman clubs, fishing lakes, similar recreational uses with all buildings and clubhouses incident thereto, including restaurants to serve members and or users of the facility. So that was the original language. The other original language that was close was other commercial ventures not provided by this or other sections of this resolution, if approved as part of the plan. They also included community facilities. So community facilities would be like libraries, institutional uses, educational facilities were permitted. There were many parts of our use that were permitted.
But you're with golf, you're still not talking the in and out every hour. And with the community use like libraries, I doubt any of them would generate up to 100 trips per hour.
I don't even think that will be the number of trips. I think you're hearing an idea of how many people are using a space possibly at any given time.
What's the worst possible scenario?
He's giving you
I doubt it
max.
would be, but
Yeah,
a lot of
maximums.
times when you do that, you would want to definitely let the entity know when you do your traffic study what the maximum or
Sure.
the averages. So I
Yeah.
I still think that even though it designated it in more general terms, I think this is a higher intensity use, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I think it's a great idea. I mean, I don't want to denigrate it, but I think it's really exciting. But just that the traffic is concerning for terms of keeping up our roads and things.
I think it's a great idea too. I think our community is excited about this finally coming to our area, so we're excited about that. So, just a couple clarifications. So, you're on your site plan. You had your dumpster located at the southeast corner of the parking lot. That when it goes up against the future office space, it kind of makes sense. But from now until whenever that is built, the dumpster's just going to be still in that spot. Just wanted to confirm.
Yes, but it will need to be screened on all sides using the principal materials of the principal and primary building, which is the nice building, the farmhouse style building. So it should have all those compatible materials surrounding it. And there will be a gate, a fenced gate area in the front, whether that's painted or natural, I don't know. But that would allow, obviously, the refuse collection carriers to get in there and remove the trash.
Okay, and then what will the phase 2 area look like while we're waiting for it to be built for the next couple years?
So if the parking areas are already included in phase 1, you're just going to have sort of a green space where grassy area just east of the parking lot and east of that.
And
Those
that'll
two
be mowed
spaces.
then by the owner?
I'm sorry?
It'll be mowed, like it'll look like a yard.
Oh, yes, very well maintained and manicured.
Do you, and you may not know this yet, but once you do that permanent roof structure for the 3 courts, it's in the future, do you know how high that building will be? Will it be similar in height to the dome, that 36 feet, or do you think it'll be higher?
Yes, the height standard for this area in the previous development text and this one is 50, but we're at 36 as our maximum proposed height for dome structures and or metal building and or office buildings. So 36 feet.
Thank you. And then we don't have any idea on timing on that yet. Is that correct?
The second phase, no.
Is the metal building in the submittal that we received?
It is. Yes, it is. The metal building plan was attached in the original, or maybe a revised submittal prior to zoning commission. But yeah, it was in there. But I
Robin,
can
did you
share
see
that
that?
again and provide it.
When I looked at the, I'm not sure how to say the NewGen drawings, the dome manufacturer is what I'm assuming I'm looking at.
Okay, yes, the
Sheet-
manufacturer.
Yeah, when I look at sheet A, on the floor plan, on the left side of the drawing, I'm assuming this is oriented as it will be out there, it says there's a clubhouse. Is there going to be a clubhouse? Because I didn't see that on the rest of the drawings in the actual site plan.
So that little office structure in the middle of the property is their office structure, but I don't know if there's a separate office structure attached to the dome other than that one. Tito, could you talk about the Reardon manufacturing specifications, how they show an office structure? Is that just a generic office structure that they show that you need to build as part of your dome?
Okay, where is that? But I think what is...
On that left side there was a
top left.
revolving door at the viewing area and revolving door in the clubhouse on the far left side with the
Right.
red hash marks.
And I believe the reason why it says clubhouse is because this 5-core dome is used. We purchased it from a country club in Maryland.
Okay.
It was attached to their clubhouse back then.
So we're
that's-
repurposing this dome from another facility?
We will be.
We're repurposing, like we're reusing, it's like reusing the dome from another facility?
Yeah, this is a unused dome. It's been used for 3-4 years. We bought it already. It's been stored in a storage facility, but it was attached to their clubhouse.
Okay, and so it's not going to be attached, it's as your drawing shows on A2 where
Not
it'll be separate. Okay, and is there a viewing area in this or no?
No.
Okay. And it said,
You mean like a place for spectators?
yeah, right, that's what I was.
Okay. Okay.
So if there were spectators, where would they be? Like say I'm the mom and I'm watching my child have a lesson, where would I go?
Yeah, there'll be kind of like, again, trying to use the examples of Olympic Indoor Club. And there's another one in New Albany called New Albany Tennis Center. They have the same manufacturer. We would just put a small bleachers, this tall, both sides, just maybe 2 or 3 steps.
Just around the perimeter.
Just on the, in between, maybe could be in between courts 1 and 2, and then another one between courts 4 and 5.
Okay.
right
And
in the
then-
middle.
Well, construction, it said the construction would be completed in the fall or the end of 2022. Is that like 5 months?
Construction?
Mhm.
No, well, according to,
That was our original estimation
okay.
prior to, let's see, probably May's timeframe.
Okay.
Things might have changed and shifted based on engineering plans,
Right.
permitting plans that would need to be submitted after land use approvals.
Okay.
between February, March,
So opening
Late-
sometime late,
late winter.
early spring, late winter.
Yeah,
Great. And so then you would have the dome up for then just a couple months then in 2020, the beginning
depends. Yeah, depends. If the construction ends by close into April, maybe we'll just not put it on yet.
Okay.
If it's by February, hopefully, then we'll put it up for
Okay.
sure.
And how long does it normally take? I believe you answered this at the zoning commission, but how long does it normally take to put the dome up?
About a week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that long, depending on weather conditions also. If it's snowing or raining, they have to stop, but it takes about a week.
Okay. So it's definitely not something that you're going to put up in October, take down in April, and then come July and it's blazing hot. You're not going to put it back up for another month and air condition the space. It's
Not-
just gonna
not at
stay
all,
in
yeah.
Open air.
It's a whole process, no more than a week,
Okay.
but yeah, we started and until next season.
Okay. So
And
we
the-
would just go up and once in a 12 months.
Yeah, sorry if I can interrupt. There is a provision in the development text that specifies when the dome can be erected.
Right. I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Eric.
I think those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
you plan to start construction then immediately? When do you plan to start? Or waiting after the 30-day referendum or?
Yeah, I believe the initial estimate of time, because they had started this about it probably a year ago in terms of discussions and where they were headed. The initial estimation of time was end of this year. But I think what Tito is saying is they will start probably in February or March of next year, 2023.
I mean,
construction.
starting, beginning construction. He said it would be completed by
Oh,
February.
I'm sorry, go
Or
ahead. I
March.
misunderstood.
Yeah, we're looking to start to build as soon as we get all this process done, which hopefully is by, and of course, our building permits done, which we have already started some of those. I don't know in detail how much it has been done, but yes, based on our estimations, we're looking to start building November, late October,
Construction
November.
Or
Construction.
when the weather's still not completely frozen, I guess. or the
Right, as soon
ground.
as possible before it gets cold. But even our construction team has told us that they can still make it happen during the winter, and
Okay.
they've given us about 4 to 6 months building period.
Okay,
So from October until
that's great.
So the original estimate still applies.
I just want to point out, so since the applicant is filing for a rezoning application, there are still standards that you need to comply with our zoning resolution, and that track coverage, which Robin brought up earlier, is one of those. So the question is that we need to make sure that the all impervious area does not exceed 75% of the total lot area. So we were unsure if that's like 60-some% was, again, just for phase one or for the entire.
It's for the entire, and our civil engineers did look at that very carefully
Okay.
after Mr. Duffy asked about it. I
Yeah,
think
and we,
within
again,
the
if
last week.
there was a divergence that was needed, we would want to address it now, because when we
Right.
get to the permitting phases, and if that exceeds for whatever reason, we
Right.
have to come back.
Then you
here,
need a
so.
variance or something, so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's been analyzed.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
No, I guess just for the JED information, just for the board's understanding, we have not, the parcels that we have in the JED currently for this round of creation, we do not have specific projects for those other businesses, so I think it's important to keep it open-ended, since we don't know how much is going to be coming in right away and when that's coming in, and there's a lot of unknowns right now, so
I agree.
to have good faith and best efforts for particular project.
And
I
and I would like to look at that specific commercial area as far as getting it shovel-ready as a JET application.
Sure.
Along with our roads.
So I think it's great to consider. I
Yeah,
would
we
be
can't- I
concerned to
I think we can commit to
right.
that. Yeah.
Can we, to our attorney, do we know if they'll be liable to make the repairs on the sidewalk if they're in the right of way?
So it depends. As you said, the township does have the authority with respect to sidewalks to levy costs against adjacent property owners. I don't know, because this is a county road, Correct.
I think they're saying it's public right of way, yeah.
Is it township? Wait, it's
This is Green Meadows is a township.
the
road.
township
It
road,
is a
yeah.
township
Yes.
road. Okay, so questions, or the answer is it depends, because there are provisions that permit the township to levy costs associated with sidewalks against the abutting property
So
owner.
do we have to add that to this application, or is that just by law? We can already do that, just like with the residential area? Okay. All right, I just want to make sure. So they'll probably be responsible for any repairs to sidewalks. I think I have no questions, further questions.
The resolution's still correct then?
Well, we did modify the JED language in the resolution to address what I just talked about. So we can also revisit the current language that the applicant provided and take a recess. It's
So I just would read it without modification, basically.
if we're keeping it as is, but I would be very clear that the words good faith and best efforts, that some people could depict that as a promise.
Yeah.
And I would be hesitant to do that.
I'd rather.
So we can take a 5-minute recess and I can work with council to modify that, or we can use the language that we drafted in the resolution you have in front of you.
I'm already scribed out the modification part, so just looking for the words.
I mean, I think we would look at it, but I don't
So
want
the-
to bind ourselves.
So regardless of the resolution, or regardless of the form this modification takes, the resolution is a, because it is a modification.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Perfect.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I think we've been clear on the JED.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm fine reading the resolution header,
Correct,
and
correct.
then we'll fix the language accordingly.
So we can, if you do not like the modification language as presented, let's take a recess and we can address it.
I think we should.
Has the applicant seen the modification as directed?
They're just going to take out the last part, good faith and best efforts to require the owner of any business operating on said property to sign a petition acknowledging and consenting to the JED.
I have a question. Are you removing the last sentence in total?
So the resolution in front of you does not include that good faith language because that's consistent with the board's past practice. So if you would like to include that language that identifies, then we can add that back in.
But good faith there's good faith in here, right? Or we're talking about
Well,
good faith.
I think
for
there's a
the
couple-
JED
there's a
money?
couple
There's
things.
Two different things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Their proposed language specifies the sidewalk and the water line installations, whereas we took that out and we said the applicant, we will use good faith and best efforts to basically work with the owner on our JED projects.
I'm fine with
but-
that.
Just leaving it as is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing
Well,
wrong with
I'm sorry, I guess I'm getting as is what the applicant provided, or as is on what?
One in
What
front
you
of
drafted.
Okay.
What you drafted. Yeah, right. And is this sufficient to require them to join the JED?
So correct, that language, it says that the applicant acknowledges that the township's entering into a JED or working to enter into a JED, and that when it comes time to sign a petition, they will, and they'll use good faith effort to have any business owners sign if necessary. But it does not include the specific language initially requested about the two.
what we're going to
changes.
use the JED
Yeah.
money
Has
for.
Rebecca seen this?
Yeah.
I have not.
But this is
Should we
just,
show it to her?
well, this is our choice to,
Right, yes, I'm good.
yeah, I'm good with this. But we will, I think we're open to discuss it, but I don't
There's
want to make any
objection to
commitment.
that, then we'll deal with
Yeah, I'm okay with that as is.
it. Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-263 to adopt with modifications the recommendation of approval of the zoning commission as to zoning application ZON 22-05 of NewGen tennis facility for rezoning from planned commercial and office district to planned commercial and office district.
Second?
Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
Trustee Knapp?
Yes.
And Trustee Phelps?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nothing further on the agenda. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Oh, sorry, me. Okay. Erica, you second that, right? Okay. Trustee Grumbles?
Yes.
Trustee Faust?
Yes.
And Trustee Knapp?
Yes.
Right. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.